Hey you guys, it's Emily, and today I am doing a book haul. So you can't see it, but right next to me there's a big box filled with books that I didn't really like and that I want to get rid of. Now, there are quite a few books in there, like we're talking 30 books and more, so I won't be talking too much about each and every book. However, feel free to check out my Goodreads if you want to see my reviews for all of these books. The link will be down below. And also, little disclaimer, I feel like I have to do this since I'm about to do an unhaul and probably share a few unpopular opinions, but just because I didn't like a book doesn't mean that the book is bad. You and I probably don't have tastes that completely align, and that's completely okay. So just know that just because I didn't like it doesn't mean that it's bad by any means. So now, without further ado, let's dive into it. So let's start with an unpopular opinion, shall we? We have And Then There Were None by Agatha Christie. Now, I didn't hate this book. I think I gave it like 2 or maybe 3 stars, but it didn't really work for me. I liked the plot, I liked the idea behind it, and I thought the ending was mind-blowing. I didn't see it coming. However, I didn't like any of the characters, and I know it's kind of the point of this book. They're all super unlikable, but I didn't really connect with them, and characters for me are a big part of a book. Since I didn't like the ones in here, I didn't love this book. I still want to check out the rest of Agatha Christie's work. I feel like there's probably books out there that I might like more. I think this might be a case where my expectations were too high, but I'm hoping that I will like other of her books. This one just didn't work for me. Next up, I have Children of Blood and Bone by Tomi Adeyemi. This is a case where the book wasn't bad, but I'm not interested enough in what happened in the first book to continue on with the series, and since I won't be finishing the series, I just don't see the point in keeping the first book, even though the cover is beautiful. I didn't hate this book, I just thought that it had some flaws. I know a lot of people really loved it, and that's great, but it didn't work that well for me, so I just think that instead of keeping it and wasting shelf space, might as well give it to someone who will like it more than I did. Then I have The Wedding Date and The Proposal by Jasmine Gilroy. I know you're probably surprised that I'm getting rid of romance books. I know I am, but I didn't love these. I had high expectations for both of them, and I was let down by both. They're super insta-lovey and tropey, and they're very cheesy and cliche, and this just wasn't what I was looking for. If there had been smut in it, I might have been more interested, but there's no smut in these books, so I just wasn't interested overall, and I won't be continuing on with the rest of the series. Another unpopular opinion, The Truly Devious series by Maureen Johnson. So I only have the first 2 books. The third book is actually on my desk. I read it very recently, and I borrowed it from a friend because I didn't want to buy the last book in the series. I wasn't planning on reading the last book in the series, and that's because I enjoyed the first book. Like, I think I gave it a 3.5 out of 5 stars. It was okay, but I was let down by the second book and the rest of the series as a whole. Super disappointing, kind of a waste of time, to be honest, because I didn't love the first book all that much, but since everyone on BookTube seemed to love it, I thought, you know what, I'll just give this series another chance, read the sequel, it might get better, and it didn't. I'm sorry, I don't like these. I'm going to give them to my friend who has lended me the third book, so she'll have a complete set. It's kind of a shame because these covers are absolutely beautiful. I mean, look at them. Then I have I Believe in a Thing Called Love by Maureen Gu. I don't remember exactly what I didn't like about this book. I think it was mostly the fact that the main character was super childish. The ending is kind of infuriating, and I didn't really agree with it. Overall, I think the plot was over dramatic, but it kind of makes sense because we're talking about K-dramas in this book. It just wasn't for me. I think it's because this book is meant for a younger audience, and like, I'm 24 years old. I'm not gonna love everything that's meant for a younger audience, and this is YA, so obviously it's not necessarily meant for someone my age. So maybe someone younger would enjoy this more. I didn't. I don't hate Maureen Gu's work by any means. I think I gave this like a 2.5 stars, and I read another one of her books and I enjoyed it, so I think it's kind of a hit or miss situation for me, and this one was a miss, unfortunately. Next up, we have Forever Summer by Alison Noel. This one contains the books Laguna Cove and Cruel Summer. It's kind of bittersweet for me to unhaul this book because it's one of the very first books in English that I read and that I bought. I remember buying this when I was like 15 years old in Boston during a end of year trip with my high school, and I don't remember exactly how I felt about this, but I haven't really thought about this book for like 10 years. And I haven't wanted to reread it or anything like that, so I think I will just give it away. But like I said, kind of a bittersweet moment. Now I have Jacoby by William Ritter. I read this recently and I didn't hate this. I think I gave it a 3 out of 5 stars, but I thought this book was just going to be a mystery thriller set in Victorian England, but it ended up being like a paranormal mystery thriller, which I wasn't too thrilled about. I liked the characters and I liked where the story went. I just wasn't that big a fan of the whole like paranormal aspect to it, and I don't think I'll be continuing on with the series, so I'm just going to get rid of it. Next up, I have Blonde Ops by Charlotte Bernardo and Nathalie Zayman. So I bought this purely because it was on sale at Indigo Chapters, and also because it was a YA travel novel set in Rome, and I thought I would like this, and turns out I didn't. I think I gave this like 2 stars. It wasn't bad, but it was super cheesy. I didn't like the characters. I feel like it was meant for a younger audience, which is probably why I didn't like it. So I will be unhauling this. Next, I have Fireworks by Katie Cotugno. Katie Cotugno is a hit or miss author for me. I've liked some of her work, but some of her other works I haven't liked. This is one of the books that I didn't like. It's set in the 90s in Orlando, and it's about like these 2 girls who are trying to become like famous or something like that. I don't remember exactly the plot, but I remember not loving the characters and just not loving the book as a whole. Now let's talk about one of my most hated books of all time, and that is Stalking Jack the Ripper by Carrie Maniscalco. I won't spend too much time talking about this because if I start, I will rant for like 15 minutes and we don't have the time for that, but I will leave my Goodreads review linked down below if you guys want to check it out. This is one of the cases where I wish I hadn't read it and I want my money back because I feel like I wasted my time. I didn't like the characters. I thought the plot was super predictable. For a mystery thriller, you hope that you won't guess the ending, but that was a case where I knew how it was going to end from the beginning, and I hated the love interest. So I just don't think I'll be continuing on with the series, so I am just going to get rid of it. Next up, we have A Beautiful Bastard by Christina Lauren. This was a reread for me, and the first time I read it, I think I enjoyed it a lot, but upon a reread more recently, I realized how problematic this book is. I love Christina Lauren, but this is one of their first books and I just didn't like it. Next, we have Warcross by Mary Lou. This is a book that I'm not too sure if I actually really want to get rid of it or not. I enjoyed the first book. I think I gave it like a 3 or maybe a 4 out of 5 stars. I liked the world building, I liked the VR aspect to it, but I've heard that the sequel sucks and I just don't think I have the time or energy to read a book that I will not end up loving. I didn't love this first book. I had a hard time getting into it and I felt like a lot of things in the plot just weren't believable, and the main character was kind of bland in my opinion. Like the only thing that we really knew about her was that she had like colorful hair, but I didn't hate this either. So it's a case that if you guys think I should give this a second chance, I might. Not too sure I will keep this. It's a shame because once again, the cover is beautiful. I think it's stunning. Next we have Love, Life, and the List by Casey West. Casey West is another hit or miss author for me. I used to really love her stuff, like her older stuff I used to really like, but I haven't really been into her most recent work. Might be because I'm getting older and they're not really my thing anymore, but this is one of the cases where I liked the premise, I didn't like the execution, and I also hated the love interest. I didn't understand why the main character went through all of this for a guy who treated her like trash. Once again, super pretty cover, kind of ashamed to give it away, but I didn't like this. Okay, so I'm sorry for the little interruption, but my sister is making a mess in the background. I'm really sorry if you can hear that. I'll try to power through these because it's the 3rd time that I'm trying to film this video today and I just need to talk about all the books and there's not a lot left anyway, so I'm really sorry for the background noise if you can hear anything, and let's dive into the rest. So next up I have The Last Boy and Girl in the World by Siobhan Vivian. I honestly don't remember too much about this book, which is probably why I'm giving it away. If it didn't leave a lasting impression, it's probably because I didn't love it. Next up we have The Museum of Heartbreak by Meg Letter. Never read this, but I got it on sale initially and I was excited when it came out, but since then there has been some not so great reviews online about this book, so I decided not to even bother reading this and I'll give it to someone who might enjoy it. Next up I have Escaping Perfect by Emma Harrison. It's another case where I bought the book because it was on sale and I like the cover. I mean, it's super pretty, but I don't remember much about this book, which is probably why I should get rid of it. Once again, not a lasting impression. I think I gave it maybe like a 3 stars. Next up I have Every Day by David Levithan. When I first read this book, I think I gave it a 5 out of 5 stars. I remember really loving it. I loved the premise, I liked the concept, but to be honest, I don't want to reread it. I know there's a sequel. I'm not even interested in picking it up. I just don't really have any feelings about this book anymore. Next up I have Chaotic Good by Whitney Gardner. I got this book in a Indigo book box and to be honest I wasn't interested in it then and I'm not interested in it now. I have also heard not so great things about this book, so don't really feel like reading it. Next up I have The Way I Used to Be by Ember Smith. I read this during Contemporary-a-thon last year and while I did enjoy it, I did also have a couple of issues with this book. I know the subject matter is super important. It's about a girl who gets raped at the beginning of the book and then we follow her through her high school years as she tries to deal with what happened to her. I like the beginning of the book and I like the ending. I think both of these parts were super strong and emotional, but the whole middle part of the book, it felt so disconnected disconnected from the rest and I didn't really like that part. So I just think I'm gonna get rid of it. Next, I have Top 10 by Katie Cotugno. This is yet another Katie Cotugno book that I didn't like. I just didn't feel like the two main characters belonged together and I didn't see them being together, and the book just proved that to me, and I know I was supposed to do the opposite, but yeah. Didn't like the two main protagonists and I didn't feel like they were meant to be, so getting rid of it. Next up we have Little Black Dresses, Little White Lies by Laura Stempler, and this was purely a cover by and the fact that it was based in New York, but I think overall I gave it 3 stars. I read this a while ago and it felt kind of childish to me, and I don't know, I didn't really like it as much as I thought I would. Next I have One of Us is Lying by Karen M. McManus. I bought this before the Newts and I read it during the Newts and I didn't love it as much as I thought I would, which is such a shame. I know it is a very popular book here on BookTube. There's a sequel that just came out. I'm very difficult when it comes to mystery thrillers and this one was kind of a disappointment. I don't know, I didn't like the characters all that much. So yeah, I don't plan on reading the sequel. It wasn't that great for me. Next I have Hot Dog Girl by Jennifer Duggan. Like everyone else on BookTube, I didn't love this. I thought I would enjoy this more than I did, but the main character was super problematic. I just didn't like a lot of aspects of this book and I think I read it during Summerathon, so I will link the vlog up here. I feel like I probably have talked a bit more about this back then, so if you guys want more of a review, go check that vlog out. But I didn't love this. It's such a shame. The cover is super beautiful once again. Next I have Confessions of a Queen Bee by Krista McHugh. I never read this. It was actually a gift from a friend, but I was never really into the book to begin with, and I think the only reason she bought it is because the title says Queen Bee, and a lot of my friends like jokingly call me Queen Bee because that was my nickname during high school for some reason, even though I was never really a queen bee. I've been keeping this book for like 3 years, I think, maybe more, and I just don't think I'll ever read it, so let's give it to someone else. Finally, we have Crazy Rich Asians by Kevin Kwan. It's one of those instances where I wanted to like the book, but it didn't work for me. It was too long, over dramatic. I just felt like it was stretched out. The descriptions were super lush and vivid, but it was a little bit over the top in my opinion, and I don't plan on reading the rest of the series. I do want to check out the movie though, because I've seen like bits and pieces here and there and it looks absolutely amazing and I've heard great things about the movie, but I just don't think the book was for me. I also have a couple of French books, but I don't think you guys will be interested in those, so we're gonna wrap things up here. Well, thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you guys enjoyed. I'm sorry once again if you could hear a lot of background noise. I cannot film while my family is home, and that's what I am now realizing. But let me know in the comments down below if you've read any of these, if you think I should give them a second chance, and I guess that's it, and I will see you guys in my next video. Bye!